The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
You're listening to
Wrestling to the Max.
Alert, clear all channels.
This is an exclusive
Pay-per-view review.
How you like that?
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leeser.
Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling to the Max's TLC 2016 review. And tonight, I'm your host, Gary Vaughn. Of course, with me, Mr. Sean Garmer. What's going on, Sean?
None, just here. Ready to talk some TLC. Of course, Gary was at the show, so you get two different kinds of perspective here.
Yeah, that's what's cool. I'm really excited about talking about TLC because of that reason, because, you know, there's a lot of differences when you're there live and, of course, when you're watching it on the network. It's just a little bit of, you know, and I talked to a friend about this, a little bit differences of opinion sometimes on matches and how the quality was, because you have that different feel. But we'll jump into that and talk a lot about that. Of course, I do want to note, of course, you know, we did not get a chance to do this show with Wrestling Unwrapped. We definitely apologize for that. You know, those guys were waiting for me to get home, and it just took me longer to get home, and things didn't work out for all of us. So, of course, me and Sean are going to try to do our best to talk about TLC, give you our thoughts and opinions. And, of course, if you'll notice, Paul Leeser is not with us tonight. I know it's a bummer, but he's enjoying himself on vacation. He's actually in Disney World. So, hey, man, that's really cool, and I hope he has a blast. So you're not going to get his opinions tonight. Maybe when he gets back, he actually gets to say see the show whenever he does. He can actually kind of give some of his thoughts later. So anyway, this is going to be kind of fun, Sean, because like you said, I was there live. I want to say this, you know, kind of start out the show. I was wondering how this crowd was going to be in Dallas because, you know, I have been to a few shows at the American Airlines Center. I've gone to really hot shows for that crowd where Raw was banging, everybody was excited. I've been to Raw shows that were just so dead quiet, you didn't know what to do. And I kind of felt bad, but at this TLC, walking in, I noticed the crowd was a lot of families, a lot of kids. A lot of those wrestling, you know, crazy smart fans were not as much in attendance as you would probably want if you wanted a hot crowd. So I think you, Sean, you texted me and you said, was this was my headphones messed up? Why was this so quiet, right?
Yeah, well, I said you need to do something to wake up the crowd in Dallas because I have headphones in and I know it's not me that's just, you know, hearing this. Like, they either have to have them mic'd wrong or they're just really bad tonight.
Yeah, it was a real bummer because, you know, it's really hard, and, you know, it's an effective thing when you got a lot of people that are excited about being at the show, and I think a lot of people were. But I'll just say this, I noticed there were a lot of families at this show, a lot, and I think that's what kind of happened here. You had a lot of parents who basically bought tickets for their kids. In fact, I was sitting next to a couple that had brought their 12-year-old son. And, you know, it was kind of funny because you look around and lots of kids and things like that. So I just got to throw that out there. If you're wondering, man, why was TLC kind of dead when it comes to the crowd? I think that was what it was. I noticed a lot of parents that may not have been into the matches as much as it was as taking their kids to enjoy the show.
So was the kid not into the...
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. You had a lot of kids, you know, yelling and stuff like that, but the kids were not overwhelming. I gotta say that they were not, and I think it's because the rest of the crowd was quiet, so they were kind of nervous. You know how you are as a kid; you're a little nervous. You don't want to start yelling. You had a few kids that were very boisterous, but you also had a lot of the kids just sitting there and clapping and stand up and all that. But besides that, not a lot of vocals coming from that crowd. I was with a friend of mine who actually invited me to go to the show, Jonathan Allen. He's on our Wrestling to the Max group, and he was really cool to take me, and I appreciate that. And he was one of the guys that was very vocal. In fact, we'll talk about some of these matches. I will give you some behind the scenes information, and I guarantee you guys, you will listen to us talk, and you go back and watch TLC, you'll point out my friend very quickly. If you want to actually find me on TLC, you'll actually see me. I'll be on the right hand side of your screen when you're actually looking at the ring. You'll see a guy in a green hoodie with a black hat, and of course, I'm next to the guy with a rainbow jacket on with sparklies on it. You'll see me very clearly. So, yeah, it's hilarious. I know, and this guy wanted to stand out.
Forever immortalized on the network.
Exactly, and he'll stand out clearly more than I will, but you'll see me next to that rainbow jacket guy. So anyway, I just want to throw that out for everybody if you do want to see me on the network. But let's get this thing started. I know I'm kind of taking a lot of time beforehand. I just want to kind of point a few things out. That way it's kind of referenced towards this. We are not going to really jump into the pre-show match because Sean did not watch it, and I was there and watched it, and I don't even remember most of it because it really didn't matter. I was having a good time talking with people in the crowd, and American Alpha won. I knew that was going to happen. There you go. That's all you needed to know. But we did start this show out with a match that I was really kind of curious how it was going to go down, with Rhino and Heath Slater taking on the family for the tag team titles of SmackDown. And, this match, Sean, was not terrible. I thought it was fine. There's a few things I appreciated. One of the things I want to say that I appreciated was the fact that you did see the Wyatt family working together. You actually got a chance to see Luke Harper take a spear from Rhino to save Randy Orton in this match. And at the end of the day, Randy Orton has a big deal to do with this because his RKO does win the Wyatt family their tag team championship belts. So at the end of the day, it was not a very long match. It was a decent match, nothing super spectacular from my vantage point. How did you feel about this whole match, though, in general?
Yeah, I mean, this was good. This was good. I mean, it was, like you said, it was short. They really played up the whole, okay, well, Luke Harper saved them, and that's the reason why they won. And then, another distraction by Bray Wyatt allowed for the RKO to happen. And I just really like the dynamic of they're really playing up the whole, okay, we don't really trust each other thing. Bray obviously trusts Randy Orton, but Harper's not too trusting of Randy Orton, and it's really kind of added this nice dynamic between everybody. There's tension, even with Harper holding the belt at the end, because he knows that he's the reason they won. I really like that, and this Bray Wyatt's first titles in WWE.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting, and I don't think a lot of people realize that because Bray Wyatt has been around, he's been popular with the crowd, but he's never actually held a title. And it's easy to really think about that because he's been over at points where he really mattered. I mean, think about this. This guy has faced guys like The Undertaker, John Cena. He's faced some of the biggest names in WWE, but he's really never went for a title. And so here you go. He's finally got a title under his belt. If not trying to be funny about that, I just said that. But anyway, silly. But I know, right? A title under his belt. But the funny thing about this whole thing is I really question where this is going to go. It makes sense because, when we were doing our preview last week, Sean, we kind of told everyone this is the way it's got to go because probably, and this is really Paul's idea, Heath Slater's going to go on his own. He's going to start doing some things that maybe can actually do very well for himself when it comes to the mid-card scene in a singles role. And Rhino, he's an old veteran, and he's going to handle himself as the guy putting people over, I feel, in the future. So you kind of see these two guys in their own way, but the Wyatt family actually holding belts, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it because I think that Bray Wyatt has bigger goals in hand besides just holding tag titles.
Oh, certainly, but for right now, he's trying to, he wants his family to be together, and what a better way to be together than to have titles. constantly around where you guys have to defend them and you have to be a team and everything else. And Harper trying to make sure that they keep those titles. I mean,
Well, let me ask you this, and it's probably a moot question, but do you think that they could use those titles as in what the New Day have with the Freebird rules? Do you think they would ever do that? Because I just see Bray Wyatt as being the architect of this group, not really being the guy having to fight week in and week out for the tag titles. I could totally see him saying, you know what, Harper, you fight for me. You take the place. You and Orton do the job.
they could do that. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's up to, obviously, WWE can do whatever they want. It's their show.
Mm-hmm.
So they could make it happen. But honestly, I'd like to see it kind of continue the way it is. Harper being standoffish, but also kind of letting Randy know, hey, I'm watching you. You make a wrong move, I'm going to be there, kind of thing. It's got to lead to a match between Harper and Randy Orton. Yeah, them being a tag team could also sort of lead to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can do that down the line and you'll be all right.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of makes me fight that whole thought process is the fact that they want Randy Orton to turn on Bray. They don't want Randy Orton to turn on Luke. They don't want him to turn on even if, let's just say it was this still the case, Rowan. Even if he's still a part of that group, we have no idea. But I think it's going to be Orton turning on Bray Wyatt, and that best way maybe to do it is as tag champions, or maybe they lose the tag belts and then Randy Orton does it. But at the end of the day, it's got to be Bray Wyatt that takes the RKO and completely splits away from this group. So I kind of see Bray Wyatt being the guy that is going to be defending the titles, even with Luke outside the ring, helping them every step of the way. So it's good. I think this is great. I am glad that finally Bray Wyatt gets a championship of some sort, and I'm just really kind of curious where this is going to go in the future. Let's turn our attention, though, to Carmella and Nikki Bella. And now this is a feud that's gotten pretty heated, especially if you're a person that watches Total Divas and all that stuff. You could kind of see which direction they like to go in with this, because it's all about Carmella attacking Nikki, jealousy, talking about her boyfriend John Cena, doing all this stuff that you see on Total Divas in a way. And it's kind of been brought into the wrestling world. And this match is, a match that's good. It's a no-holds-barred match. They can do whatever they want, at the end of the day. And, of course, we see Carmella with the kendo stick. We see even Nikki Bella using the fire extinguisher really to take advantage to find a way to win this match. And she does win. Nikki Bella does stand up tall, and it gives, Carmella that rack attack 2.0, as they say. So how do you feel about this, Sean? I mean, Nikki Bella wins. I think we could kind of predict that. We also get the follow-up with, Carmella accusing Natalya of being the person that attacked Nikki at Survivor Series.
I've never seen a fire extinguisher used so much in one match. And then, not only that, but, I guess Carmella's ass is now the body part that we start hurting. That we're not even gonna try for the leg like Carmella was doing with Nikki, which she actually was doing a pretty good job. We're just going to whack Carmella in the ass the whole time. I use a fire extinguisher all over her and to get the win. I mean, it was fine. I didn't like the fact that you had worked on the leg so much, and then Nikki you didn't even have her collapse one time before she tries to do the rack attack 2.0 or anything like that. Just all of a sudden, okay, well, I can lift her now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess I wasn't thinking about that, but you're exactly right. They should have sold that better. This match was fine, and they did what they did, but at the end of the day, I kind of felt like this match was, I don't know if it was rushed or if it just did not have a
they didn't give him a lot of time,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wonder if it was rushed or it was totally meant for this to be the case, because I think at the end of the day, they wanted Nikki Bella to look dominant at times. And she didn't at the entire match, but at the end, she looked like she was Superman, right? Or Superwoman, whatever you want to say. She looked like she was unbeatable at the end here, where, like you said, she could stand up even though she'd been beaten on the legs. She, basically embodied John Cena in a fashion. It's going to happen. This is what makes sense, I guess, for what WB wants Nikki Bella to be. she's a former champion. She's the longest reigning women's champion of all time. So all that works in this wheelhouse. But Carmella comes out of this just basically by blowing this match off immediately by saying, hey, it's Natalya who beat you up. Just leave me alone in a way. And I also kind of, it's kind of funny too, Sean. I don't know if you thought about this, but I was sitting there live at the event, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, this feels very much like James Bond or another show or even I'll even use Batman. Like it's, the Penguin just got beat, and he's like, see, it's not actually me who destroyed Gotham. It was the Riddler. Hey, you still have to beat the bad guy. And he was just Carmella was like the pawn to get to the actual boss here in the video game. So I don't know. That's the way I felt about it at the end of the day.
You're right, but all it does is it comes off really awkward. Like, we couldn't have just announced this on SmackDown. We couldn't have. Why right after the match? And why is that the reveal? Like, why can't you just let things be and then you do the reveal on SmackDown when you have more time to plan out what is it you want to do for that? You don't have to do it right now, and everything will be all right.
You know what I really would have appreciated out of this? And I think it's okay the way they ended it, but I totally agree with you. And if they're going to do this reveal, don't do it like this. Don't make it a whole thing. Just basically what I would do is kind of leave it a little bit more subtle. I would have either Carmella beaten down so bad she was having trouble breathing, or have her basically, roll it outside of the ring and grab the mic and just say it wasn't me and drop it and fall to the floor. Even if they have to play Shaggy's music, it wasn't
I
me.
knew where you were going with this. I knew it.
I'm sorry.
No, it makes me laugh because I was like, I knew he was going there.
I just had to, Sean. But think about it. Really, would you appreciate it more if it was that subtle? If it just was a couple words, it wasn't me, or I didn't do it.
Well, I don't know if they're gonna catch Natalya red-handed or anything like that. But they didn't show the footage, so that's gonna be something interesting. Or do they have footage of Natalya actually hitting her? Or is she gonna be in the shower and be yelling, "It wasn't me"? I don't know. But I just I was trying to make a joke about the song, but I couldn't think of any other lyric from the damn song right now.
Well, I'm telling you, you just make SmackDown's ratings go out the roof. So
certainly, they certainly weren't doing it with that K Jeweler spot.
Oh God!
Were you guys getting the K Jeweler spot?
Yes, I thought that was just us, man. I thought we were.
No, it was all over the network with the K Jewelers thing. That was just a bunch of whatever. But
I want to say, I'm glad you brought that up. To be honest with you, because you got Carmella saying Natalya is the one that was a heel,
and then the next segment, here she is picking out a ring with this guy. Like,
she's so nice.
Really? Okay.
Oh man, we're gonna see this one day.
And it's like, man, what Tyson Kidd must be feeling right now. Like, just they pick her of all people.
Well, wait till Roadblock. What's going to happen to Roadblock is, Rusev is going to just, beat down Enzo Amore again, and then the next segment's going to be him, like, at a cancer event helping some child up the stairs. It's like, oh, what a sweet guy after he did such bad things.
That's terrible, Gary.
I'm just being honest.
I would hope he would have a cancer.
Well, some of these heels would shove kids down the stairs. So.
Oh, well, yeah, Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
But,
anyway.
Yeah, no, it was just like really bad timing.
Yeah, it really was.
So bad.
But go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We get past all that, though. Really, at the end of the day, we'll see more on SmackDown when it comes to that whole theory of, Natalya and all. But let's talk about the Intercontinental title match, and it was actually a ladder match that would determine who would be holding the Intercontinental title at the end of this night. And, from being there live, and I had a few discussions with my buddy Lance, and we were talking about this over a text, and I noticed when he was saying about his favorite matches, is the ladder match wasn't one of his favorite ones, and for me personally, coming out of it, seeing it live, I really enjoyed this ladder match. I think that they did a good job. They really kind of, portrayed who The Miz and Dolph Ziggler are, and that's guys that, will just basically fight till they can't fight anymore, and that's kind of what happened here. And, The Miz, of course, does his normal thing, cheats and finds a way to get the victory, and he does. He had to do a low blow to get the victory, but that's what he's got to do. He does it. And he does end up holding the Intercontinental title from this ladder match. And just a really quick precursor, just in case, Sean, you want to say some things about this as well. But you did have earlier Daniel Bryan admitting that he does not like The Miz, and the fact that he does not want to see him walk out Intercontinental Champion. He'd rather see Dolph Ziggler. So at the end of this match, you actually have The Miz cutting a promo saying that, he wants to dedicate this match to, guess who? Daniel Bryan, basically for motivating him for winning because of, the hatred that he was getting from Daniel Bryan. And, Dolph Ziggler needs a participation award, so things like that. He was basically getting the promo over. And I kind of thought that was kind of not a bad thing to do, especially with him continuing on this thing with Daniel Bryan. But at the end of the day, what did you think about the match? And, you can just say whatever you want about the other stuff.
Unlike you, I enjoyed the match. I think this is where you started to really feel the crowd not being into it, hurting things, because they were giving it everything and they were just not responding. And I love the fact with the leg work on Ziggler was affecting him, and then Miz where he fell down with that spot where he's holding on to that thing with the title. And then he falls down and he has to sell it and everything. That was well done. I mean, you knew something was going to happen to get Miz the belt, but you kind of didn't know what. There it was. I think we all expected that. I just really enjoyed the match. I thought that, Dolph gave it his everything, and so did Miz. They left it out there. I think they've had better matches in this feud, but this was still pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you 100%. I think it was, at the end of the day, a really good match. And, they really did put their hearts out there. You kind of got excited watching it because you kind of felt like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. Is Maurice going to get involved? Is this going to end up, where, both of them are holding the title and fall down? Those kind of things kind of pop in your mind because of the way it was working out. So I thought, overall, we got a quality match out of those two guys. And I didn't expect anything less, to be honest with you. When I saw these two guys on the card, I knew, man, this is one of the matches that I've got to look forward to. There's not a whole lot of matches, I think, on this card that you would sit there and say, man, it's going to be just so thrilling. It's going to be so excellent. I think there was good matches, but nothing where you feel like, oh, my heart's going to stop if I don't see this match. So this was a positive one. I really appreciated all the effort. I just wish my fellow crowd would have got into it more. Like I said, I think it goes back to being a young crowd for the kids. It was a lot of kids. Sometimes I don't know if the kids really think about these matches and how brutal they are.
They don't think about it. So they're kids. I mean, they're just going to root for who they want and cheer for or boo who they don't want.
You're exactly right. They don't understand the danger and all the injuries that come out of these kind of matches. Whereas, I'm an older guy. Of course, I'm an adult. I kind of understand, the reality of this kind of stuff. And I kind of appreciate all that these guys are doing, while these kids are just like, look at these two superheroes going at it. It's just like when I watch Spider-Man and Captain America. It's, come on, guys. I understand that these guys are putting a lot out there.
Right, but in a way, that's what WWE wants, is that superhero thing, too.
Yeah, that's true. It is true. I wish that this crowd would have reacted better. It was too good of a match to kind of sit on your hands. But, we get the Miz staying champion. And, I don't have a problem with it per se, because what is Dolph Ziggler going to do with it? Really nothing. Whereas the Miz, I mean, he's such a good heel. He's got so many ways to really kind of screw with Daniel Bryan now. I love it. I love that kind of whole, I'm better than everybody attitude for The Miz. Not only that, he has a proof of it with the Intercontinental title. And now Daniel Bryan's sitting on the sidelines trying to find a way to get this guy to lose.
Hey, they've done this storyline really well. Don't know if they'll ever pay it off with any wrestling or whatever, but they've done this well. And it's interesting to see how it is Daniel Bryan's going to get his comeback on that.
Very much so, and we'll find out, of course, on SmackDown. I'm really sure that'll be a big point of contention. Let's talk about Kalisto versus Baron Corbin in a chairs match. And Sean, I was not really, to be honest with you, looking forward to this match. I really kind of felt like this was going to be one of the weak matches coming out of this show. And to my surprise, it actually ended up being pretty well done. It wasn't great, but I think it was a lot better than I ever expected it to be. And, as I watched it and watched the way it kind of transpired, I think Baron Corbin did not look terrible. I think he did a pretty awesome job for what, we've seen from him. And Kalisto really, put it all out there himself. So it was brutal at times, which is needed. That really needed to happen. But, how do you feel about it? What did you think about the fact that Baron Corbin was the guy who won the match?
I think we all expected Baron Corbin to win the match here. I did not think Kalisto would win. The Baron Corbin looked really good here. I think this is his best singles match to date. Kalisto looked fantastic here. He looked like he belonged. He was resilient throughout the thing. He really looked good, kind of defending himself against the bigger Baron Corbin. Just loved everything about this, man. The flying moves out to the outside, the freaking deep six to the outside there by Corbin. You could hear that thud. It was nasty. And then he does the end of the days on the chairs. Just some really good stuff, and just enjoyed the crap out of this match.
Yeah, and this is actually the match where you can hear my friend I was with just screaming his head off. If you'll notice while, you watch the show, listen for a loud, woo! Almost like it's between a girl and a guy. He was loud, yelling so loud. And it was actually when Baron Corbin was walking down the ramp, you could definitely hear him clear as day. So, he was thrilled. And he was actually worried during the match because it was kind of funny because he was bantering with a kid. This little kid was saying, I bet you $20 that, Kalisto's going to win. And it was funny. But they were doing their back and forth thing, and he celebrated his head off when Baron Corbin won. So that was a little bit more fun for me, too, to sit here. And he was nervous that Kalisto was going to win, though. I could tell because Kalisto a few times at the end of this match, it really felt like that he had the chance to win. And that's why I think both those guys did a good job, because they really had the crowd thinking, oh, Kalisto's going to win. All those kids were ready to chant Lucha, and then when their hearts were broken, it was kind of interesting to see. So. But yeah. No. And of course, I'll just tell you this right now. There was a lot of people. I've heard Kalisto's name a lot, and here in Dallas, they actually, we have a pretty decent Latino community, and a lot of them did come out to the show, and I think that they really wanted, Kalisto to win. So I think that had a lot of that to do. You got a lot of people really wanting Kalisto to win, but he did not. Let's move on. We got to talk about a SmackDown Women's Championship, and that is the match that Becky Lynch walked into against Alexa Bliss, and this is a tables match that took place. And, I think really surprisingly, Sean, this was a little bit slow at times. I really felt like this was going to be maybe stronger, but it wasn't terrible. The ending was a little bit more of a surprise. I really felt like they were going to really kind of do some kind of crazy move or something. But really, at the end of the day, it's just, Alexa Bliss kind of just shoving Becky Lynch off the ring apron and through a table. And it works. She's now the champion, but it was nothing thrilling. You really felt like, Alexa Bliss was going to use her finisher, or Becky Lynch was going to find some interesting way to put Alexa Bliss to the table. I'm kind of curious what you feel about the match, and I also really want to know how you feel about Alexa Bliss being the new women's champion.
Yeah, I think it shocked a lot of people with the Alexa Bliss winning. I did not expect that at all. I thought, okay, well, it's a little too early for her to do that. But it certainly changes the dynamic of what this, obviously this feud's going to continue now, because she at least gets to have one rematch in Becky. And, Alexa she's been so good lately. Just her expressions on the microphone. She's getting better as a wrestler. I mean, she wasn't too good in this match. I mean, there was punches where she was obviously not even bothering. But for the most part, she's been doing better. And I think that you should reward that for her. And she's been doing that by leaps and bounds in certain areas, especially with the promos. And I think she's being rewarded for that. And I mean, again, also helps further that feud because for some of these, you only get, you don't. You don't always get the first chance to make that first impression with the title change. I think they made the right call here. Let's see how long this goes and what they're going to do with it going forward.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that as well because of the fact that, you just mentioned that, really ring-wise and ring technique, Alexa Bliss is not exactly perfect, and she's still learning. She's got, some room to grow for sure. Whereas Becky Lynch has kind of been there, done that. She's kind of more experienced, and that's fine. I mean, that's sometimes the way it's got to play out. You've got to give someone an opportunity, even if they have to hold the championship, to grow. And I think that's kind of what they're doing here. Not only that, I mean, you're like you just said, it's a reward for all the hard work. And honestly, if you ask me right now, out of favorites, I think, Charlotte, then Bliss, and then maybe everybody else, because I think that they are just more well-rounded compared to the rest of everybody in the entire WWE when it comes to the women's division. But at the end of the day, it's exciting to see, a new champion, to see where they're going to go with this. We know Becky Lynch is going to get her rematch. The biggest question is Becky Lynch going to go ahead and get the title right back, or are we going to see a little bit longer run for Alexa Bliss? I'm really kind of curious if that's going to take place, which I think it'll work. If Alexa Bliss gets to hold on to it a little longer, I think it works because I could see a lot of different feuds. Of course, you're going to have all the other faces come in and try to do something. So I'm excited about it. I think it makes sense. And, I don't know. I really don't know where I fall.
Right now, you got, Nikki, who would be obviously being in a feud with Natalya, so she's kind of taken up. And then you got Naomi, and then everybody else is a heel on SmackDown for the women. So I think this thing with Becky is going to go on a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, you're probably right. And we'll have to kind of see where, what direction they really do. Do they want to give it back to Becky Lynch sooner than later? I don't know, but you're right. It'll probably be a long time before we really do know what's going to happen with that title. But anyway, the last thing I want to say about that is, how did you feel like compared maybe even to the other women's match in this show? I mean, I was just not so over. It was good, but it was not as impressive as I wanted it to be. I'll say it that way.
I agree. It wasn't anything spectacular. I'm glad they gave them time. I'm glad they gave them the ability to have the tables match. I thought they tried for what they were given. They didn't have them do a million table spots either. It's just one table, which sometimes I really prefer that too. You don't have like a zillion tables get broken in weird ways. They tried to do the whole avoiding the table various times. It just, it wasn't smooth and there was some problems. And it came off like that here in this match, and it sucks. But, it happens sometimes.
Yeah, very true. It does. And, and I, like I said, I'm really kind of curious how this whole thing's going to work out in the end. Let's talk about the WWE Championship match between AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose. And this, of course, is a TLC match. So you're going to get all of those weapons involved in this match for sure. There's a lot of different highlights. I'm going to let Sean kind of highlight what he really appreciated. That, and was it the 450 on the chairs or whatever that is?
450 through the table. That was
the table. That was, what was the chair spot? I'm trying to think. The flip onto the chairs that Dean Ambrose, he flipped up AJ onto those chairs. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That was awesome. I couldn't remember the name of the actual move, but that was great. There's several. I'll just let you highlight what you want to highlight. But at the end of the day,
the ladder on top of the announce table for Ambrose to elbow him. My Lord.
Oh boy. And, one of the biggest ones is when James Ellsworth shows up and, gets beat up by AJ Styles a little bit, but when it looks like Dean Ambrose is going to win the WWE Championship, guess who shows up and, turns on him? And that is, of course, James Ellsworth shoving the ladder. And, of course, Dean Ambrose falls through a table. AJ Styles wins this match with James Ellsworth celebrating. After actually being beat up by this guy, he's celebrating AJ Styles. And you got,
Well, he has AJ Styles' number, Gary. I mean, of course
yeah.
he'd be.
Yeah, you brought up what I was going to ask next. So you're exactly right. So is this all about, at the end of the day, Ellsworth just doing it for his own benefit, knowing that, hey, I'll get a title match
That's
now?
exactly what Ellsworth said on Talking Smack. He said it was all about for his own benefit. He said that he has AJ Styles' number and that he's going to show that. And there you go. That was his reasoning for screwing over Dean, because he thinks Dean will be all right, whatever. And that AJ, he has his number, and he's putting AJ in the corner, and now it's going to be AJ against James Ellsworth for the title next week, or not next week on SmackDown. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's going to be really interesting to see, especially since the fact that we've seen James Ellsworth take some pretty big beatings recently. So that's a quick turnaround to have a big title match, especially against a guy like AJ Styles. But hey, give him credit. I mean, AJ Styles went through a war at TLC, and he put his body through a lot of pain. So James Ellsworth may actually have a shot at winning this title. I highly doubt it, but I'm just saying you can understand the reasoning behind saying, okay, Ellsworth, you get a shot.
Taking him while he's weak. That's how you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just I mean, this was a great match. This is a great match. I know not everybody likes the finish and everything, but I enjoyed the finish for what it was. James Ellsworth explained himself. It makes sense. He wants to be, in the playoff consideration. He wants to be out there. He's making his face known. And it puts him on a big spotlight here for what he did. And so, I mean, I don't know. I wonder if they're going to put him in hibernation a little bit after a while after this, because, or I'm sure you'll have the obligatory Ambrose and Ellsworth match, but it's like, you don't want to overexpose Ellsworth at this point. I think you kind of need to, cool him down a little bit and let it be AJ and whoever. It's going to be AJ and Undertaker, or AJ and Ambrose one more time, or I don't know who else is going to get, if Cena's going to come back. But, man, AJ once again proves how great he is as far as the talent, as far as everything. Just AJ Styles is amazing, and he proved it again on this evening. The bumps he took, the bumps he gave, just that man, just nothing stopping him.
You're exactly right, and everything you just said. I mean, this is why I was rooting for AJ the entire time, because I
that crowd was rooting for AJ, like just
yeah, that was I think the hottest the crowd got. I mean, just for me sitting there, they loved AJ. I was a little bit surprised, like I said, once again, all these kids and seeing AJ be kind of the bad guy, but you had a lot of people.
Why though? Because he comes off as a star.
Mm-hmm.
He comes off as somebody that you should care about, that you want to love, that you want to care about him. Ambrose getting booed because they're kind of tired, I think, of Ambrose or whatever. But, yeah.
Ambrose is great for what he is, and I appreciate Ambrose. But honestly, I'm okay with him not even being a guy that holds a title. You know how much, we talk about guys that we love in the past, and I'll just use one example to be, exact. Roddy Piper. And Roddy Piper was not big, he never did hold a world title, right? He did. Not a WB world title for sure. And that never once hurt his credibility and never hurt, his legend. And, Dean Brandon Ambrose has won a world title, but here's the thing. I think even in the future, Dean Ambrose will be fine if he never won again, because Dean Ambrose is great. He does his own thing. In fact, I think he's kind of better without a title. I kind of think he can be as crazy as he wants to be. He can be a loose cannon. With a title, it just takes him out of that element. He's
Yeah,
not
he
as
has
much
to be a
of
little
a,
more serious, when he has
exactly. You're exactly right. So I don't know. I just it did not sit well with me thinking that Dean Ambrose could be the champion. I felt very glad about the fact that AJ was retaining, and I think a lot of people in the crowd were, and maybe even people at home. But just an excellent match. Both these guys did so great, and I really do want to know what's going to happen now. We still are probably going to have Ambrose involved somewhere, but I want to know what's going to happen with Ellsworth going from here, and I'm so excited about seeing AJ stay champion. So, well, I guess the last thing we've got to do on this is kind of talk about, our not only our rating, but kind of talk about who we think maybe MVP on this show, who really deserves that kind of praise, and maybe your favorite match. So, go ahead, Sean. Kind of give me those three things for you.
Favorite match is main event. AJ Styles, their MVP, because he really brought Ambrose to another level in that match. That was tremendous. Totally delivered for a main event. Just, man, great stuff there. And what else we
just a rating. What would you rate this entire show?
I give it a 7. I think, Alexa and Becky was still good. It wasn't great or wasn't very good like it could have been due to the botches and some other stuff. But you have a freaking great main event. The SC title match is still very good. And you have some filler in there that is short enough where it doesn't hurt anything. You have a title change in part of that filler, and can't complain. And then you get Kalisto and Corbin that freaking over delivers. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting what they got out of that match.
Yeah, I agree with you, and for me as well, a 7 is a score that I kind of feel like it's fair because of those reasons. I think that chairs match really overly impressed me compared to what my thought process was going in. Really, I had that probably being one of the worst matches of the night. And so when they overachieved in a way, I think it really helped, and I really appreciated all their hard work. And then, of course, you talked about the TLC match, great. I think all of us will agree on that. I think the ladders match was excellent. I really appreciated that. I mean, I think the crowd sucked because they should have really got into that match more than they did. And the two women's matches weren't bad as well. So I think at the end of the day, this is a pretty good pay-per-view. Nothing excellent or great overall, but a really good one. And I think a 7 is probably right where it needs to be. My MVP, I think, has to line up with Sean's here. AJ Styles definitely being the star. The crowd loved him the most. Him retaining his belt really did matter. And, I think for my favorite match, it'd have to be that TLC match as well. If I was going to give honorary, anything here, I think Alexa Bliss would deserve it too, because of the fact that, I think that, it was great to see her, win her first championship when it comes to the WWE main roster. So,
That's right.
Well, guys, that's our TLC review. It's, one of those things where, it was cool to be there live, and I really, had a great time. And, maybe you can kind of see that me and Sean actually kind of enjoy the same things. There are some people who are probably going to disagree. If you disagree with anything we said, or you do agree, or you want to say anything, hit us up on our Facebook group, Wrestling to the Max. That's the place to do it. You can, of course, make your comments known there. And, hey, go check our shows out. When you go to the W2Mnet.com, you can, of course, go on there and check out the written reviews. We also had a TLC roundtable. Go see who was wrong and right on there. And what their opinions were. And, of course, now that you got the, audio podcast here, you can also make your comments known on YouTube or wherever else, just kind of say what you want to say. Also, just want you guys to also know, if you want to get more of these kind of reviews, of course, with our regular weekly episodes, go to W2M Network. When you go subscribe to that, you'll be able to find all our shows. We do a SmackDown review, a Raw review, and, of course, our Part 1 and Part 2 of our regular Wrestling to the Max shows. So that's where you go get all our content, plus some other great content that you'll find, some nice little treasures there as well. So besides that, I'm your host, Gary Vaughn, along with me, Mr. Sean Garmer. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and we will catch you guys on down the road.
Later, everybody.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.